Hi, we are Anna, Vanessa, and Katerina, and we will be breaking down, describing, comparing, and contrasting our media article and empirical article for you. Our topic is if buying experiential memories are more satisfying than buying material items. First, we'll be discussing the media article titled Science Proves That Traveling is the Secret to Happiness. Anna first found this article on a travel website called traveler.com. The article is written by Ben Groundwater, a travel writer, published on August 12, 2015. The author starts out with the opening of, "The science is in, and the experts agree. You should spend all of your money on travel, right now." I mean, they didn't say that in so many words, but the inference was definitely there. Any spare cash you've got should be going straight into the holiday bank account and made use of as soon as possible, because that's the secret to happiness. Now, even in those first few sentences, Groundwater seems to know that he's simplifying an expansive empirical article. Groundwater then goes on to link the empirical article by stating, a recent study at Cornell University found that spending money on experiences is more likely to bring you lasting happiness than spending money on material objects. The author gives a one-sentence explanation of the study, stating that spending money on experiential purchases is better because we adapt to physical objects. After the brief explanation of the article, Groundwater discusses how people think that spending money on a nice house, car, or phone will bring them happiness. He states that these types of purchases won't bring everlasting happiness because by the time 3 or 4 months have passed, you'll be complaining about what a pile of crap it is and looking at ways of upgrading. He says that even a visit to an art gallery or eating an amazing meal is more beneficial to you because it is a gift that keeps on giving. Throughout the article, the author links to previous articles he or fellow travel writers have written. In fact, in his 723-word article, he includes 7 different links. One is the link to the empirical article. One link goes to a gallery of pictures taken at Oktoberfest. One link goes to another travel writer's article, Sky Mall catalog. And 4 links go to previous articles Groundwater wrote. The article ends with, "Do you think travel brings you happiness, or would you rather spend money on physical things?" and links his contact information and social media.
Our empirical article is titled Waiting for Merlot, Anticipatory Consumption of Experiential and Material Purchases by authors Kumar and Thomas Gilovich with Cornell University, and Matthew A. Killingsworth with the University of California, Berkeley and University of California, San Francisco. The empirical article was published on August 21, 2014. The article focuses on the idea that experiential purchases, money spent on doing, tend to provide more enduring happiness than material purchases, money spent on having. There are 4 studies that are included in this article. We will be focusing on Study 2 and Study 3. In Study 2, 2,266 adult participants engaged in a large-scale experience sampling project. The study uses experience sampling to find out if thinking about upcoming experiences is associated with greater happiness than thinking about soon-to-be acquired possessions. This means that researchers wanted to find out if thinking about experiences make people happier than thinking about material items they are going to buy. The participants were signaled at random times through a cellular device and were asked a happiness, purchase thought, purchase content, pleasantness question, and an excitement/impatience question using sliding scales and yes/no responses. An example of a happiness question was, "How happy are you feeling right now?" using a sliding scale with endpoints labeled very bad, which is 0, and very good, which is 100. An example of a purchase thought question was, "Are you currently thinking about a purchase you intend to make, either a material good like a TV or item of clothing, or an experience like a vacation or concert?" The response options were yes and no. An example of a purchase content question was, "What future purchase are you thinking about?" This was an open-ended question. An example of a pleasantness question was, "Is waiting to make this purchase more unpleasant or pleasant?" Answered on a sliding scale from unpleasant, which is 0, to pleasant, which is 100. An example of an excitement/impatience question was, "Would you describe the nature of your anticipation as more like impatience or more like excitement?" Answered on a sliding scale from more like impatience, which is 0, to more like excitement, which is 100.
Two coders, unaware of the hypothesis, then determined whether each purchase was experiential or material. They were given definitions of experiential and material purchases and rated each purchase on the following scale: 1. Definitely material, 2. Largely material, 3. Unclear or ambiguous, 4. Largely experiential, 5. Definitely experiential. People reported thinking about 586 future purchases that were rated on the experiential side of the scale, 318 future purchases that were on the material side, and 272 future purchases that were rated as ambiguous. As the figure makes clear, compared with the purchases that were more material, experiential purchases were associated with higher levels of happiness, more pleasantness, and more excitement. Even in this restricted range of nearly all positive circumstances, the psychological state of waiting tended to be systematically more positive for experiences than for possessions. In Study 3, the empirical article focused on an archival analysis. Participants are those who contributed articles to a database for a 2-year period from January 2011 through December 2012 and searched for stories of people waiting in long lines and wrote about waiting in long lines during a time period. There were 149 articles included in the sample for the third study. Two coders, similar to Study 2, were then asked to rate whether the participants' purchase was experiential or material and how negative or positive their mood was using a 5-point scale. 1. Definitely material, 2. Somewhat material, 3. Ambiguous or unclear, 4. Somewhat experiential, or 5. Definitely experiential. They were comparing mood, which is the dependent variable, between experiential versus material purchases, which is a quasi-experimental independent variable. The results showed that people waiting for an experience seemed to be better behaved and in a better mood than those waiting for a material possession. That is, there was a significant linear relationships between how experiential the source of the wait was and how positive the experience of waiting appeared to be.
We are going to be comparing and contrasting our two articles based on 3 sections: tone and readability, factual accuracy, and validity. Let's start with tone and readability. The tone of the media article is very casual. The article is written as if it were a conversation between two friends, using words such as crap, rocking up, and other phrases. Groundwater states other encouraging phrases such as, "You probably already knew this, but it's nice to have it confirmed," and even the bad travel experiences end up being good for you. One reason why we believe Groundwater makes the tone of the article casual and almost friendly to read is because he wants his audience to feel comfortable and share in the notion that travel will make you happier. He even goes on to describe his own experiences of bad vacation trips and how he's looked back at even those nightmare episodes when everything goes wrong fondly. He persuades the readers that there's no wrong way to make happiness happen. All you have to do is travel. Regarding the general readability, there are a lot of links included in the article, which can sidetrack the readers. This makes the article feel a little distracted because we are being linked to something in almost every paragraph. Not only are we being linked constantly, we are also being linked to a majority of articles that the author wrote himself, which feels a bit like a self-advertisement. On the other hand, was more expansive and harder to read. If you are unfamiliar with this subject, then some of the terminology used in this study will be complicated to understand. The authors use multiple theories, explanation of concepts, and previous studies to give background on their topic. But still, many readers who are unfamiliar with the topic might need some extra help. The overall tone of the article is professional and scholarly, as expected of a peer-reviewed study. However, some sections of the article contain tidbits of informalness. One example was when they explained in Study 2 that their results did not stem from simple selection effects, or, quote, people who tend to be thinking about upcoming experiences are a cheerier lot than those who tended to be thinking about imminent acquisition of material goods. After explaining the results for all 4 studies, the authors succinctly summarize their findings into a general discussion where the reader can evidently see that the authors have proven their hypothesis. In the final conclusion, the authors also persuade their readers to wait for experiential purchases because it will be more pleasurable and they are able to, quote, savor just how wonderful their experiences will be, end quote. Kumar et al. Finishes by saying, people are less inclined to wait for a Volvo, Polo, or Lenovo than to sip Pernod, take a Merlot, or open a Merlot, because waiting for the latter is simply more pleasurable, which nicely summarizes a heavily research-filled empirical article.
The media article was not very accurate. The author very clearly simplified the 4 studies into one sentence. Quote, "The science is in and the experts agree. You should spend all of your money on travel right now." End quote. When the empirical article found much more than that simple phrase, the empirical article states that people are more pleasant and happy when they make an experiential purchase, not specifically spending money on traveling. An experiential purchase can mean anything from buying a vacation or spending money on skydiving. Therefore, the author takes a slanted viewpoint on the empirical article, tailoring the content to meet his needs and persuade his intended audience. The accuracy, or lack thereof, in Groundwater's media article has a purpose. If the media article, which is located on a travel website, described the independent and dependent variables, the p-values and coding scales, or the selection effects of each study, no one would read it. The vague nature and conciseness of the article is for a good reason, because the common person who goes on a travel website or blog does not want to read so in-depth into a study. The empirical article, on the other hand, is very accurate. The authors went into significant detail and was very thorough in their descriptions. They knew their limitations and tried to dispel any other possible explanations in each study. The trade-off, however, is that the empirical article is 9 pages of very detailed scientific jargon and numbers. Even though the empirical article is quite accurate, it is slightly persuasive too, as discussed in the readability portion of the video. Not only is the empirical article slightly persuasive, they do not have a limitations section of the article. This makes me, the reader, feel as though they did not self-reflect on the possible limitations of using only Cornell students for Study 4, which asked participants to think of a time when they waited in line for an experience or a possession and then asked them to report how they felt. We feel that the lack of a limitations section and the persuasive words at the end of the article could be a hit to the accuracy of the article.
Validity of authors. Media article. While Groundwater's article seems to be similar to other travel blogger-esque material, he has had a significant amount of experience in travel writing. Ben Groundwater is an Australian travel writer, blogger, journalist, sub-editor, and anything else someone will pay him to be, as noted in his website biography. Groundwater has penned travel, music, and lifestyle features for the Sydney Morning Herald, the Sun Herald, the Courier Mail, and Rolling Stone. He has also published his first book, 5 Ways to Carry a Goat, a travel memoir of his first time touring the globe, and has been working as a professional travel writer for 10 years. With a background of education from the University of Queensland, Groundwater was named Fairfax Traveller's award-winning columnist. The empirical article is written by Amit Kumar, Matthew Killingsworth, and Thomas Gilovich. Amit Kumar received his PhD from the Department of Psychology at Cornell University. He also received an AB in Psychology and Economics from Harvard University. Matthew Killingsworth earned his PhD in Psychology at Harvard University, and Killingsworth also received his BSc from Duke University with majors in biomedical engineering, electrical engineering, and economics. Tom Gilovich is a professor of psychology at Cornell University who has done research in social psychology and has written popular books on this subject. Gilovich earned his BA from UCSB and his PhD in psychology from Stanford University in 1981. As you can see, all 3 authors are highly credible and valid in conducting and writing this research. Conclusion. In this video, we broke down, described, and did a compare and contrast analysis of 2 articles regarding happiness and material versus experiential purchases. The 2 articles we analyzed included a media article about traveling and an empirical article in which the media article was based on. Both of the articles discussed how experiential purchases make a person more happy and have longer-lasting memories than those who buy material purchases. We further explained how a person's experiences are much more valuable and exciting than a person thinking about a material item they've just possessed. Our motto for this video was, "Buy memories, not Maseratis," since experiential purchases are more memorable than material purchases. We hope we evaluated the research to help you all decide what types of purchases make you happy and think about what is more important to you. Thank you.